All right, welcome to our week 2 pre-recorded lecture for DES 114, Print Production and Color Theory. Again, I'm Shannon McNamara. I'm an instructor at Independence University, and I'm also a faculty program advisor. And I'll be doing all of the pre-recorded lectures with you this mod. So here's our agenda for week 2. I hope that you all had a successful week 1. And this week we're going to go over design careers and color use. We're going to talk about color and branding, some print production basics, and then we're going to tie all of this into our course material. So design careers and color use. In print, we use, we have packaging, we have advertising, we have promotional items, we have signage, we have publications, and that's just for print. Digital can be web and mobile apps, video and photography, animation. According to research, when people make a subconscious judgment about a product, they make that judgment in less than 90 seconds of viewing the product. And a majority of people base their assessment of a product on just the color alone. In fact, almost 85% of consumers cite color as a primary reason that they either buy a particular product or they don't buy it. And 80% of people believe that color increases a brand's recognition. So stop and think about this. Think about the last time that you were in a grocery store and you were choosing between two different items. Did you possibly make a choice based on the coloring of the packaging of the items? If I'm looking for something healthy to eat and I want to make sure that I'm making a healthy choice for dinner. Am I going to pick an item possibly that's packaged in a nice, light green, or maybe there's some neutral browns there, some really earthy colors to the packaging? Or do you think I'm going to pick something that has bright yellow, bright purple, bright pink? Chances are good I'm going to go with the item that is in the, green and brown and natural colored, organically colored packaging. And I haven't even looked at the nutrition label. There's a good chance that that pink, purple, and bright yellow packaged food item could actually be better for me, but because the package color is so off, I'm making a decision just based on the color alone of the packaging. And the reason why is, different colors, they really do mean different things. So let's talk a little bit about the psychology of color. We have red, orange, yellow, pink, and green on this slide, and we're going to get into a bit of each of these colors. So red, excitement, passion, danger, energy, action. Those are some words that are associated with the color red. Marketing colors like red, they capture attention. The red color meaning is associated with excitement, passion, danger, energy, and action. And many times you'll see red used in call to actions on websites. So what's a call to action? Think of those buttons that say order now, click here, submit. Those are call to action buttons. They're telling you to do something by clicking on it. And a lot of times designers will design those buttons red because they stand out. Also, you may see red on packaging, so that way it stands out on a shelf. In color psychology, red is the most intense color. And this means that it can provoke some strong emotions. Red can also trigger danger. Think about all of those banners on the news stations. When there's breaking news, the banner is usually in bright red, right? So you want to make sure that when you're choosing to use red, you use the color sparingly. if you add the color red to your website, you may want to save it for a call to action or for sale icons if it'll contrast well with, the design of the rest of the site. Red is also an iconic color used for brands such as Coca-Cola and even YouTube. The color red tends to encourage appetite, hence why brands like Coca-Cola, they usually use it in their branding. They also use words like happiness in their branding. So that way they're using the color red to help build excitement. YouTube probably uses this color due to the excitement of watching videos online. And you'll notice that in their logo, the red part of their logo is the play button. So the color encourages you to want to press play on their videos. Next, we have orange. So you'll see my words for orange are creativity, adventure, enthusiasm, success, and balance. So in color psychology, orange represents creativity, adventure, enthusiasm, success, and balance. The color orange can add a bit of fun to any marketing material that it's on. So despite its attracting color, it's not as commanding as the color red. Many marketers still use the color for call to actions or areas of a website that they want to draw attention to. Orange's color meaning shines through really well in the Home Depot logo. Home Depot sells products that you can use for your home, and many, DIY do-it-yourselfers, they head to Home Depot to buy products to renovate their home or to make adjustments. So the orange logo here helps to, represent that type of creativity. Next, we have yellow. So happiness, positivity, optimism, and summer, but also deceit and warning. Interesting. So in color psychology, the color meaning for yellow revolves around sunshine. And that can mean that it can evoke feelings of happiness, positivity, optimism, and summer. But I do find this so interesting. It also hints at deceit and warning. So talk about opposites there. Some brands choose to use a cheerful yellow color as a background or border on their website. And you may see yellow used for free shipping bars at the top of a website or for the background of a sale sign in a store. A little touch of yellow can make visitors associate a store with something positive. The color yellow is used by brands such as Ferrari and IKEA. Again, another set of opposites. Many people might dream of driving a Ferrari. The luxury brand is associated with feelings of happiness, summer, and a carefree lifestyle. The IKEA brand also uses the color yellow in their branding though. So what does buying furniture have to do with happiness? And especially when you stop and think about it, when we're thinking of IKEA, bringing that furniture home and then putting it together yourself, right? Well, let's think about who's possibly buying these products from IKEA. Many people who've just bought their first home or are maybe moving out for the first time. They might head to IKEA to buy products to furnish their new place. This is a milestone in their life, and it's usually filled with happiness and optimism for the new change. So therefore, making yellow, as part of their logo, that's a great color to associate with the brand. Then we have pink. So femininity, playfulness, immaturity, and unconditional love. Again, we have a whole different range of feelings on this color. Pink is a popular color for brands that primarily serve a female audience. Whether or not we agree with this, we know it's true. We've seen it out there. In color psychology, pink's color meaning revolves around femininity, playfulness, and immaturity. I'm not really liking that connotation personally, and unconditional love. So some brands have actually chosen to use the color pink for product packaging, especially when it comes to girls' toys. Whereas other brands highlight the pink color in their logo, website design, or to highlight key messages. Since the color pink's meaning includes femininity, it's really no surprise that a brand such as Victoria's Secret or Barbie even uses the color so heavily. Victoria's Secret even named one of their brands pink. On their website, they use a combination of pink and black to highlight key marketing details. Their logo and certain marketing messages also use the color pink. The word pink is emblazoned across almost all of their products that they sell. And again, they use that color for their call to actions, things like that. On Barbie's website, the call to actions are also in a bright pink color, and their top navigation in their drop-down menu also subtly use the color. And of course, their product packaging and logo reinforces that feminine pink color in their branding. Then we have green, which is growth, fertility, health, and generosity. In color psychology, green is highly connected to nature and money. Again, two kind of opposite things. Last time I checked, money doesn't grow on trees, right? How many times were you told that as a kid? But going back to what I was saying at the grocery store, nature, having something that's all natural, you would assume that the packaging will have some green in it. And we sometimes unknowingly assume these things, and we buy things based on seeing that color. Growth, fertility, health, and generosity are also some of the more positive color meanings for green. The color meaning for green also can carry some negative associations such as envy. If you're in the health or fitness niche, you might choose to add more green to your online store. So for example, your homepage banner image or your logo might include a green background. And again, when we think of packaging and the words all natural, healthy, we would be more likely to pick up that package that has a nice, subtle green. The use of green is also made popular by brands such as John Deere. John Deere's entire brand revolves around nature. Their product line centers around landscaping, agriculture, lawn care, equipment, and more. And the color green is so ingrained in their branding that even their equipment is the same exact shade of green as their logo. That way, when someone sees a product, they'll immediately know that it's John Deere. And without me even showing you the logo, you can probably picture that green in your mind right now, right? All right, so next we're going to talk about blue, purple, white, black, and gray. So when it comes to blue, we've got stability, harmony, peace, calm, and trust. And in color psychology, blue's color meanings are closely tied to the sea and the sky, which on a calm day, that can bring us some peace and calm, right? But it can also, I guess it would be more stormy. It would probably be a gray sky or a gray sea. So again, stability, harmony, peace, calm, trust, those are some of the feelings that a customer may have about a brand when you integrate that blue into the branding. However, blue can also carry some negative color meanings such as depression, and it can bring about a sense of coldness. Blue can also be used in a website's logo or on your website's top navigation, and some retailers add their guarantee, their trust certification, or free shipping icons in a blue color to strengthen the trust aspect the color is known for. But where else do we see blue? In social media icons. Tech brands like Facebook, Twitter, and even LinkedIn, they often use blue in their marketing. But retailers like Walmart and Oral-B, they also use the color. The blue in the Walmart logo can help position the brand as trustworthy, reliable, and relaxing. After all, Walmart is a place where you can buy groceries and do shopping all in one convenient location. Although I will say this, they've recently changed the background on their Walmart grocery logo to orange. Oral-B is a dental health brand that sells toothbrushes. So again, healthcare niches like Oral-B, they typically use blue in their branding to help people associate the brand with quality, reliable, and safe products. And you have to wonder, who is the main competition of Home Depot? Lowe's. And their logo is kind of a stark contrast to the Home Depot logo. Let's stop and think about this for a second. Home Depot is orange, Lowe's is blue. Not only are they different, but they're complementary colors. They are directly across from each other on the color wheel. You know, I believe Home Depot was around before Lowe's. So you have to wonder if Lowe's did this on purpose, if they purposely went with the exact opposite of Home Depot as a way to set themselves apart. Even though they both kind of sell the same thing. The stores are kind of set up the same way. The idea is basically the same, but maybe they want people to associate them with quality, reliable, and safe products. Something to think about. And do we maybe think that way? I remember the last time I had to buy a ceiling fan, which, according to my husband, will be the last ceiling fan that he ever puts up. But, you know, when the time came, were we going to go to Home Depot or were we going to go to Lowe's? And I said to him, well, why don't we go to Lowe's? I think they'll have nicer ones. I don't know why I thought that Lowe's would have nicer ones, but it might have something to do with that blue in the logo being, you know, maybe a better quality fan would be found there as opposed to a fan that I might find at Home Depot. And actually they had the same brands. So it's those little subtle things, that psychology of color that really, really seeps into our mind, and it can make, you know, some of the decisions. That's why we may make some of our decisions. All right, next we have purple, which is power, nobility, luxury, wisdom, spirituality. A lot of really bold words going with purple. So in color psychology, purple is considered a royal color. The color meaning for purple, it's connected to that power, that nobility, luxury, wisdom, and spirituality. But you might want to avoid using the color too much, as it can cause feelings of frustration. Very interesting. And some even perceive its overuse as arrogant. So as a designer, you can add hints of purple to a website's design, such as on the free shipping bar, the logo, or even use it as an accent color maybe in the graphics. Purple is a color in brands like Hallmark and Yahoo. When browsing both websites, you'll notice that purple is an accent color. On Hallmark, the logo and the top navigation are purple, but the rest of the website uses a variety of other colors. On Yahoo, the logo, the top navigation words, and the Yahoo icons like mail, they use that purple color. And again, the Yahoo purple has gotten a little bit bluer in the last few years. It's still technically a purple, but they're kind of going into the blue realm. Next, we have white, which can stand for innocence, goodness, cleanliness, and humility. But keep in mind, that's just in North America. So in color psychology, white is perceived to showcase that innocence, goodness, cleanliness, and humility. But again, only in North American culture. In some parts of the world, white has the exact opposite meaning. So you need to keep that in mind based on the target audience you serve and where your logos might be, or where your packaging might show up, or, you know, where your website might get the most clicks. So on an e-commerce website, white tends to be the most used color. You'll likely use as the background color for your product photo, so your product really stands out. Your pages will likely have a white background with the black font. This is because that black font on a white background, it's the best color combination for readability. White is the color that Adidas uses in their marketing. On Adidas's online store, the top navigation's black, and the use of the white logo helps to create that contrast. Since their background is white, they've chosen to use gray as a background for the product photos, again, to add just another tone to the mix. Many brands who have white as a central color, they tend to pair it with black or gray. So that's a good segue into our next color, black, which is mystery, power, elegance, and sophistication. So black is a really popular color in retail. In color psychology, black's color meaning is that symbolic mystery, power, elegance, and sophistication. In contrast, the color meaning can also evoke emotions such as sadness or anger, though. Many fashion retailers have used black in their logos. Black is also a popular color for text as it's an easy color to read, which ultimately, that's what we're going for. We need to have that readability. We need to make sure that as designers, whatever product we design, whatever marketing material we make, in the end, the user can read it. So some brands choose to use black and white photos even for lifestyle banner images or icons, and that creates a tone or a consistency on their website. Black is the color that retailers such as Chanel and Nike use. Chanel uses black for their logo and has several black and white images on their website, again, to help maintain a consistent look. Once you start browsing their website, a thick black navigation background appears, and they use a black font on their graphics for images and for their text. Noticeably, their call to actions are also black. Many retailers in the fashion niche especially use black call to actions that contrast well against a white background. Nike also uses a black, white, and gray color scheme for their website. The logo and font is black throughout their website, thus making the website easy to read. And like Chanel, their call to actions are also black, which draws visual emphasis when you add items to your bag or to your cart. Next, we have gray, which is neutrality and balance, which makes me wonder if that's why I have a lot of gray in my wardrobe. Maybe I'm trying to be neutral and I'm trying to be balanced in my life. It's kind of an interesting color for a designer because it's pretty much a lack of color. So in color psychology, gray represents that neutrality and balance. Its color meaning likely comes from being the shades between white and black. However, gray does carry some negative connotations, particularly when it comes to depression and loss. Its absence of color, it can make it dull. Gray can be used for font colors, headers, graphics, and even products to appeal to a mass audience. Apple's a great example of a brand that uses gray in their branding. Also, you've probably noticed many of their laptops are in gray or a silver tone, and that's because it's a neutral color that doesn't put off anyone. Not so much could be said for their computers in the late 90s and early 2000s, though. They were very colorful. On their website, they use the color gray for their header to contrast against a white logo. However, throughout their branding, you'll see a balance between white, black, and gray being used, which can help maintain a clean and neutral look. So color and branding, where do we even start, right? First, we really need to ask some questions. We need to know the market, and we need to understand the product. So let's talk a little bit about the Starbucks logo. You're all probably familiar with Starbucks, whether or not you get coffee there or not. I mean, we've all seen the green logo, the mermaid, we know the cups, but how did the Starbucks logo end up green? Because it wasn't always green. It actually used to be brown. And I have an example of their original logo on the slide here. The original Starbucks logo was the image of a twin-tailed mermaid or a siren. And Greek mythology states that sirens lured sailors to shipwreck off the coast of an island in the South Pacific, also sometimes referred to as Starbuck Island. So the logo was used by the original Starbucks founders to lure coffee lovers from everywhere. So there's a lot going on in that description of the name of the company, the logo, and how it all came about. But it makes for an interesting story. Since its creation, the original Starbucks logo has actually undergone many changes. The logo design saw dramatic changes, though, in 1987 when the company was acquired by Howard Schultz. The original name, Starbucks Coffee, Tea, and Spice, was changed or simplified to just Starbucks Coffee. It was Schultz who got the otherwise complicated Starbucks logo cleaned up a bit and added a more corporate, polished look and feel. Because let's look at this logo. It's drawn. It's not drawn especially well. It probably technically is a vector logo, but it's not crisp lines. It's not as polished and refined as this logo right here. So this is where the color actually changed to the green color palette that we associate with Starbucks today as well. That happened at the same time. It was introduced to represent growth, freshness, uniqueness, and the prosperity of Starbucks. And I think that green, knowing the product now and knowing how big they are and how successful they are, that really was a great choice. And you have to wonder, did that color and our feelings toward green and how we associate with green maybe play into some of their success? We'll never know. All right, print production basics. So I have two pictures up on the screen of different kinds of printing that can be done. There's 4-color printing known as offset printing. This is one of those presses right here, and you can see how there are 4 stations set up. Each station would have one of the 4 colors. So cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, let's say, and then it would collect all of the paper at the end. It's a sheet-fed press or a web-fed press is another way that they refer to it. However, some newer print production can be done in digital printing, which is really good for, short runs and variable data. So I want to talk first about 4-color printing, which again is also known as offset printing. I worked for over 10 years with a direct mail company, and we had an offset print shop right in the building. So it was really cool because I had a firsthand glimpse at how, the entire process from creating an advertisement or actually getting the copy from a customer, getting the artwork from the customer, putting the advertisement together, sending it out for a proof, getting that proof approved. Once it was approved, sending it off to the pre-press department, watching it get separated into 4 different plates, one for cyan, one for magenta, one for yellow, and one for black. Then watching those plates go and be put on the press and see the job carry through the press, go over to the cutters, be put on another large machine, get cut, and then go to an inserter where it would be inserted into an envelope to be sent out in the mail. And actually there was at one point a full-on post office set up in the building where the postman came in and they collected all of the mail and brought it on its merry way. So it really was so interesting to see and watch the entire life cycle of an advertisement and how it got to the consumer, from just being the concept that a client had to ending up in a mailbox for somebody to clip that coupon and use it. It was really interesting. And offset printing is one of the most common imagery production methods of the modern age. But a lot of us don't know what it is or how it really works. So remember yesterday when we were talking about, or in week 1, when we were talking about how important it is to change those image files from RGB to CMYK and all of those swatches in either InDesign or Illustrator from RGB to CMYK? That's why offset printing begins with the pre-press stage, where digital files are broken down by their color separation. So cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Any other colors will be considered a spot color, and they can add more cost to the printed piece. After the color separation breakdown, the files are laser edged to undercoated aluminum plates. There's actually a machine that does it, that feeds the aluminum plates into the machine, and then it uses a laser to carve out pretty much the image that's going to be printed onto the aluminum plate. It's so cool to watch. I actually worked pre-press for 2 years, and let me tell you that when you're feeding in those aluminum plates, number one, you'll never have a nice manicure. I'm not one to really get my nails done, but I learned that the hard way. And number two, your hands will constantly be covered in tiny, tiny little paper cuts from those aluminum plates. That was the worst part of that job. So after that color separation and where everything's lasered, each plate is then loaded onto a roller on the press known as the plate cylinder. And each revolution of this cylinder dampens the non-image area of the plate with water from the dampening system. And then next, a vegetable oil-based ink is actually passed through a series of rollers and finally onto the image area of that plate. This image is then offset onto another cylinder that has a rubber blanket. And the addition of this process results in a clearer and sharper final image, and that's where the offset printing gets its name. The paper is loaded into the start of the press, and it's separated by jets of air to ensure that only one piece travels through the machine at a time. And the paper is passed between the blanket cylinder and the impression cylinder, where it receives the printed image before it's passed on to the next unit to receive the next color. So this happens for all 4 colors: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. After the page is traveled through each of the units, it's piled at the end of the press with a thin layer of powder separating each page so that the printed image can dry without marking the pages above or below it. Offset printing is best suited for large volumes of prints, as most of the cost that you'll see is in that initial setup, and the price per print will fall as the quantity goes up. Those aluminum plates can really add up in price. So now you can see why it's so important to get those files set up correctly before you send them to the printer. If the pre-press worker sets up all the files for the day on their machine, and then sends them to the plate printer, and then finds out there's one image that's set in RGB, that will result in 3 extra plates: a red plate, a green plate, and a blue plate. Plus, the image is going to be missing on the CMY and K plates. So this results in 7 total plates that need to be thrown out. Plus, the pre-press artist needs to track down the original designer and either have them fix it, which would add time to the job, or they need to go in and fix the file themselves and then charge the customer, which means you, the designer, for fixing the error, because technically it's your error as the designer. So that's why it's so important to double check those files before you send them to the printer, and you have costly mistakes that will end up coming out of your pocket. Now, on to digital printing. If you have a smaller print job, digital printing might be the way to go. This technique actually skips It skips the proofs, the plates, the rubber bed, and applies a design directly to the printing surface, either with liquid ink or powdered toner. It's your home printer on steroids, basically. The inkjet or laser jet that you hook up to your computer at home, that is a digital printer. And large companies have ones that are bigger, faster, and more precise, but they work, it's pretty much the same concept. And there's actually quite a few benefits of digital printing, such as a faster turnaround time. Each print is identical. You risk fewer odd variations caused by maybe imbalances in water and ink that you would see with the offset printing. It's cheaper for low volume jobs. The price per unit drops for offset printing. So at some point, those price points do crisscross. If you have a job with 100,000 sheets, offset printing is probably going to end up being your cheaper option. But if you need, 500 prints, digital printing would be the way to go. It's easy to change information within a single print job. So for example, say you were printing out postcards advertising a concert, you could actually change the dates and locations for part of the batch to create two separate sets of cards for two separate shows. It would just be cheaper to do it that way. However, for all those pluses, there are some drawbacks with digital printing. There's fewer options in materials that you can print on. There's less color fidelity possible with digital printing because digital jobs use standard inks, so they can't exactly match all colors. I can load a Pantone ink into and add that as part of my offset print job. Pantone colors can be purchased, but the same cannot be said for digital printing. They're going to have to break it down to a CMYK breakdown. Offset jobs, again, they use those specially mixed inks, so they're really going to be a closer match. But digital is improving, and it's getting closer with blended inks, but again, those inks just still don't match up as well as a custom mix. And again, there is that higher cost for large volume jobs. Also, and this may come as a surprise, they have a slightly lower quality in their sharpness and their crispness, which is something that you might not have expected, seeing how the different papers are fed through that offset printing press. All right, so let's tie this into our course materials for this week. So how can we determine the best color combination? First, we need to learn about the industry. We need to ask questions. This week, you guys are going to be adding colors to an Aqua Excursions logo. So you need to understand a little bit about that business. Who might go on kayak adventures? What colors are kayaks? What color does someone associate with the word aqua? What feelings might come from kayaking? So what's going to be the best tool for this job? Again, Adobe Color. You can find images of kayaking, oceans, lakes, and streams and upload them to Adobe Color and color pick right from those images. You can create a color combination, pare that down to the 3 colors you need, and then pare those 3 colors down to 2 colors. And then Pantone. Oh, I know we talked about this last week, and you're probably thinking, no, not Pantone again. There were so many colors. Yep, we sure did talk about Pantone last week. But again, Adobe Illustrator has a wide range of Pantone colors right in its library. That makes it a lot easier for you. And coincidentally, Adobe Illustrator just happens to be the best tool for logo creations. So here's my hint to you for this week to make your life a little bit easier. Find your Pantone color first, and then make sure it translates well into CMYK, because remember from last week, there are many instances where there will just be too much variation in that color translation. All right, so you say, but is there an easy way for me to do this? And the answer is yes. So let's go to the Pantone Color Finder app and I will show you. And this thing is really cool. So there's basically 3 different ways that you can use the Pantone Color Picker. And you can actually use the Pantone Color Picker and Adobe Color together. And I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks that I think will help you this week. So let's open up Adobe Color. And again, don't forget to make sure that you're signed in to your CC library, so that way you know that everything's going to work okay. And if you know that you want a red, or you know that you want a, maybe a cyan blue or a dark blue or some type of purple or something, or maybe an orange to go with it, you can actually start to click some of the colors, and it'll just show you just those colors, because there really are a lot of Pantone colors, and they're constantly adding to them every year. So how are we going to use Adobe Color and the Pantone Picker together? I'm going to show you. So let's start somewhere. Let's start with a kayak image. Going to use pexels.com again. Ooh, that's such a nice ocean color, right? Isn't that really relaxing? Oh, I like that color. Let's possibly, ooh, that's nice too. Oh, these are some nice colors. Although, I don't know, these are kind of muted because of the shade going on there. That's a really nice blue. And you can just see the kayaks are always bright, but they kind of, balance well with the subtleness of the blue. I like the different blues in this picture. So I'm going to download this one. I'm going to move it over into my week 2 folder. And I'm going to go back over into my Adobe Color. And remember, I need to import that image. So let's find week 2. And I do wish that they made the folder or the picture just a little bit bigger, but it's still cool that we're able to do this. It would just be a little bit easier to zoom in. So that's a good pink. We go with a lighter one, and then we've got a good range of some blues here. Maybe this. So again, I need a 3 color scheme this week, and then I need to pare that down to 2 colors. So I think I might want to go with this really bright pink, but maybe put it with these 2. I think I like these 2 blues the best. So don't forget to save your theme. You need to click on the 3 dots. Make sure that you are in your folder for DES 114. And I'm going to name this Aqua Ideas. And save it. And then I need to get back to my theme to get the information out of it. So what you actually would need to do, and again, they don't make it very easy. Sometimes if you hit back, that doesn't work. So just click on edit a copy and it'll bring you back into your theme. Because what we need is we need these RGB values. So I'm going to move the 3 colors next to each other, and these were the 2 that I'm not using. So I'm just gonna kind of leave them. Maybe I'll make them black so that way I don't accidentally pick them. I want to use these 3 colors together. And again, I might change my mind, right? I'm able to change my mind if I would like. Well, this is where I want to find out, can I even find a Pantone version? You know, a good Pantone color that's going to match these 3 colors. This is where that Pantone picker is going to come in. So if I go to the Convert tab, look at what it lets me do. It lets me put in either the RGB, the hex, or the CMYK codes. So I'm going to go to hex because that's just the easiest. I'm going to go back over into Adobe Color. Here's my hex code right here. So I'm going to copy that and search. And look at what it brings up. Pantone 1650 TN Diva Pink as the best match. And it has some alternatives too. It even has an extended gamut coded CMYK, which as an alternative. That's pretty spot on. So let's go over into Illustrator. I'm just going to create a new document. I'm going to go into my library. And here's my Aqua Ideas color scheme. Actually, I should probably save this one as well as copy of. So that way I only have the 3 there. And click the edit copy again. Make it a little bit easier. There we go. So I can just see my 3. So I'm going to, you'll notice I have 3 artboards here. That's fine. I'm just going to put 3 squares for the border. I'm going to put the first one as my pink, the second one as my kind of teal blue, and the third one as a little bit darker, but still very light blue. All right, so let's see if I can find this Pantone swatch. Let's see if it is in my Pantone books, because not every single swatch shows up in Illustrator. So 1650. Let's go to our swatches and open up my swatch library and my color books, and wonder if it says what book it would be under. TN. Diva Pink. Nylon Brights. I wish that they had all of the books together. That would probably make it a lot easier. Let's try just the solid coated first. And you can actually search. So I can search for 1650 and see if it comes up. It does not come up there. So let's see if it's in a different book. We can try coded, but I don't think it's going to show up there. You can see. Nope. Pull a bridge. Nope. I don't think it's a metallic. Nope. Which is good, because that wouldn't have worked. Pastels and neons. Don't believe it's going to show up there. All right, so this one's not showing up in Illustrator. So I'm going to have to go to some of those alternatives that they gave. CMYK process. Maybe this is a good option because it has a CMYK breakdown. Pantone 2040. Let's try to find that one. Or 1925. I'm convinced one of these, it's going to be in one of these. Oh, 1925 showed up. It's a little bit brighter than what I wanted, but at least we found one. 2040, 2040, 1925. All right, so 1925 seems to be the only one that's going to show up. So let's compare it to my original color. And again, I can make some adjustments here. It's similar, it's a little bit more red than my original color. So here it is in the Pantone. I'm going to make a copy of it. And for this one, I'm going to edit it and convert it to CMYK. And I don't see any color variation though. So that's a really good thing. So I think I am going to stick with this one, which has a hex code of F80E41. I'm going to go over. I'm going to copy and paste that in here and bring that color up. All right, so I've already made one adjustment, which is fine. So here's my next color I want to try to find. Let's see if we can find this kind of tealish, greenish, bluish, aquamarine-ish color. Again, I'm going to paste in my hex code and search. Ooh, that's really close. I've got some good coated paper, spot color and coated paper. So let's see if 318C shows up under my coated 318. Oh. 318. Ah, yes, there it is. Perfect. Click here and add that one. And let's see how it matches up next to my Adobe CC color. Again, it's a little bit brighter, which is okay. I'm going to actually delete my Adobe CC color, and I'm going to make a copy of this Pantone color, and I'm going to edit that and make it CMYK and see if I get a lot of, ooh, no variation it looks like. Oh, that's great. All right, so here's my CMYK color. I'm going to double click. I want to get that hex code. Here's my new hex code. And I'll bring that in, paste it, copy, paste. So again, a little bit more muted, but it's pretty, we're still pretty close. So I've got these two done. And then here's my blue, my last blue. Search. That's pretty close too. And again, it's a coded one, 2985. 2985. So let's see if we can find that one. I'm going to go right to that color bridge. I seem to be having really good luck with that color bridge. 2985. Oh, there it is. Perfect. So let's see how it matches up with my original color. Again, a little bit brighter, but I do like it. I'm going to delete my original color out and make a copy. And I'm going to make this one CMYK and we'll see how it does. Ooh, and I can't see any variation. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for no variation here. So that's great. Let's see what that hex code is. Copy that hex code. Go back in. Paste it. Perfect. And I'm going to click on the dots now. And, you know, I'll just save my changes. And I'm going to rename it Final Aqua Ideas. Not just Pantone. I should say that. Just give myself a little note so I know what it is, right? Great. And there, it's updated itself. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So you can kind of see the difference in the colors. There we go. This one should be this, edit, convert to CMYK. There we go. And again, these look so spot on. So let's do a file, save as, and we'll move over to week 2. I'm just going to make a folder called colors. I'm just going to put my colors. I'm going to put color ideas aqua and save my Illustrator file. And do a file save as. I'm going to make a PDF. And again, then I can just kind of double check everything. Check that output preview. Oh, and because these ones were used with the CMYK color bridge, the Pantone colors are not going to show up in output preview because we kind of went over that last week when that happened. So that's okay though. Don't worry. Your instructor will still be able to see that you have Pantone colors by opening up your logo and seeing the little tick. See? next to your color swatch. I do wish, though, that it would still show the Pantone swatches. I feel like at one point Adobe probably had an option for that, but no, they don't, sadly. And we'll just close that out. So again, really helpful for putting together your colors using, using that Pantone color picker. That is the way to go. There's just so many different things that you could do. And again, you can even search if you know that you're looking for some blues. Maybe you just want to keep it simple and try to find, anything that's named blue. You can pull them up that way. You can pull them up by clicking on just the kind of cyan blues. You can pull them up by which book. So you can look by the color bridge coded. If we know that that's the book that's going to show up in Illustrator. Again, to make it a little bit easier on yourself to ensure that you can find the color that you're looking for. But I think that the best thing is being able to take those hex codes from Adobe Color, bringing them in and converting them right in the Pantone app. That's amazing that you can do that. All right, so next what we were going to do is we were going to take a look at our assessment also for this week. There's, definitely some things that I want to go over in the assessment. I want to really, really hit upon changing those images from RGB to CMYK after we download them, making sure to change them to 300 DPI. Also, let's go over setting up a bleed and making some PDF presets that are going to make it easier for you throughout the course and throughout a lot of your courses that you're going to be taking. If we can get some of those presets all set up, again, it's just setting you up for success in future classes. That's what our level 100 courses are for. So let's do that. Let's take a look at the week 2 assessment and go over this. So for this assessment, you're going to be creating a poster, which is really cool. And the reason why I say it's really cool, and I keep saying that this is one of the best classes that you're going to take at Independence, is because each of the projects that you're creating are projects that you're going to create out in the field. This is some real world design experience in this course. There's going to be so many times where you're going to receive something that's black and white and you're going to need to colorize it correctly. There's going to be so many times where you're going to have to design a poster. So many times, going into week 3, when you're going to have to design a trifold. So, it's important to really get these basics down and to really understand, why we're doing things the way that we're doing it. Going back to, the pre-press and the plates and sending things off to the printer. You would hate to send something off to the printer and then get a bill for $100 in plate charges because they had to throw out 7 plates because you forgot to convert one image from RGB to CMYK. Or to have them throw out the plates and not notice that your image showed up missing, and that would still be on you because it wasn't set up correctly, and then your customer doesn't want to pay for the job and you have to pay for the entire print run. Now you're out all of your money that you would have made. There's real world repercussions to doing things incorrectly. So that's why we really need to get used to how we put things together and the reasons why we put things together a certain way. All right, so let's look at our background for the assessment for this week. Posters are one of the most common ways to advertise upcoming events and available services. They can be found within buildings and on the street. They can be as small as 8.5 by 11, but they can be as large as the entire side of a building. Think of in New York City, you know, those huge, huge posters that span the skyscrapers. Imagine working on one of those. That said, all well-designed posters have a few things in common. To design a successful poster, the artist must pare down information and visuals to the simplest, most relevant parts. A single, impactful image, a logo, a headline, and just 2 to 3 lines of text is optimal. Sometimes a second smaller image can be utilized, or a large headline and then smaller subheader with body text. But again, the simpler, the better. As with billboard design, a viewer will look at a poster for just a few seconds. So they need to be able to glean all of the necessary information within that short scope of time. Posters are generally part of a much larger campaign. There are several elements that create a cohesive look within a campaign and thus build a solid visual representation of a company in the world. One of the most important components is color. Think about the largest of restaurant chains. What if the arches for McDonald's weren't golden all the time? What if they were sometimes green or blue or pink? It would make it that much harder to find that burger in an unfamiliar city. So whether on signage, posters, shopping bags, clothing, business cards, brochures, or on the web, it's vital for a company to come up with a single color palette and then stick to it. Visuals or photographs, they work in the same manner. The same photo can be used over and over in a campaign, recropped to fit different formats, resized to accommodate different resolutions, and so on. Knowing this, it's important that a designer start with as high a resolution photo as possible. While web resolution is just 72 pixels per inch, we need print resolution to be that 300 dpi in size. Thus, the same photos get much smaller moving from web to print. There's actually a great video here in your assessment to watch that illustrates how to correctly resize images to maintain visual integrity and which resolutions are appropriate to use where. It's only 5 minutes long. I definitely suggest that you watch it. So here's your prompt for this week. You're going to use the strongest, most viable color theme from your logo assignment this week and create a poster that will promote the Aqua Excursions Sunset Paddle Adventure. So you need to have the following in your poster. This is the thing that I notice is missing the most. The Aqua Excursions logo. Don't forget to put your logo on your poster this week. Choose your strongest color combination and create that file in Illustrator of this logo alone, cropped tightly at CMYK. So you'll probably remember from your assignment that, let me see, I can find an example to show you of how to crop this. Just need to remember when here it is. Last time I did DES 114. So here's an Aqua Excursions logo that you would have set up as your assignment with the 3 color swatches, then the 2 color swatches. What you need to do is you need just either the 2 or the 3 color logo, whichever one you think is your strongest. And you need to have just that in a document for this assessment. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to create a new document. And I'll just start off at an 8 by 8. Oops. Don't need you. There we go. Only need one. If you accidentally make too many artboards, you can click on the artboards and just hit delete and it'll get rid of them for you. All right, so I am going to try to crop this as close as possible. So I want to make this as easy on myself as possible by getting it as close as I can to the top and side. You just want to make sure it's not running off on the edge, because then it will be cropped off when you bring it into InDesign. And then you're going to go up to File. You can go to Document Setup and edit the artboard, and then just drag from the top, from the bottom corner. Again, try to get it as close as possible. Zoom in, and then just hit enter and hit OK. It'll crop that artboard for you. And now it's the size you need it to be. There we go. And then you can save that. So do a save as, and make a folder for your assessment for this week in your week 2 folder. And I would name it Aqua Logo, whichever color version it is. I'm going to name mine 3C because I'm using the 3 color version right there. And save it as an AI file. And close out your assignment. So do that right off the bat. And if you're not sure if your logo was set up correctly with the CMYK color swatches, you can double check that as well. So you can, I know I had mine set up correctly, but I can do a Command A to select everything and go to Edit, Edit Colors, convert to CMYK, and save it again. And that's just that little double checking yourself and making sure it's set up the way that you need it to be set up. Next thing you're going to want to do is download the sunset paddle images. So click on the link and let those download. And what I like to do is I like to get all of my images all ready to go. And there's something that we should notice about each of these images. First off, our final product is going to be an 11 by 17 poster that has a 0.125 bleed going around all of the edges. So you need to keep that in mind when you are picking an image. You need to realize how large these images are. And some images are larger than others and will work as an entire background. Some images just are not going to. So let's take a look at all of our images and we can determine which ones are going to work as the entire background and which ones just aren't right off the bat. Let me close some of my other things that I have open here. All right, so this image, let's go to image size. It is 13.8 by 20.3, and it's already a 300 DPI, which is great. So that'll definitely fit in an 11 by 17. It's wider than 11 and it's taller than 17. So I know no matter what, this one is going to work as a full background. for a poster. So that's great. This is a great option, a great first option. But it's currently set up in RGB. So I need to go up to image mode and change it over to CMYK. Hit OK. And then I'm going to do a file save as. And I'm going to save it in that assessment folder that I created. And I would change your JPEG options to maximum when you're doing this. And close it out. Let's look at our next option. We're going to go to image size. Ooh, 11 by 16.483. So we need 11 by 17, and a little bit more than 11 by 17. But it's already 300 DPI. And I'm going to give you a hint here. You can expand a photo in InDesign about like maybe 10 or 15% bigger than it should be before you start to get that pixelation of it being low res. So I think that this one will be okay for you to use. Just because you have enough of a cushion there to make it work. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to change the image mode from RGB to CMYK. And again, I'm going to do a file, save as. I'm going to put this in that same assessment folder. Do the same thing. Change it to the maximum and hit OK. And close that out. All right, let's check out this one. Ooh, 12 by 18. That'll definitely fit in our 11 by 17. It's already at 300 DPI, so that's perfect. Close that one out, but again, RGB. So I need to go in, change my mode to CMYK. And do a file save as and put it in my assessment folder. And change it to maximum. This one is set up differently. The orientation is different. So my poster says it is 11 by 17. It doesn't say that I can change the size to 17 by 11. So it needs to run portrait mode 11 by 17 per my project specifications. So I don't know if this one is going to work as an entire background photo. It doesn't mean that it can't work smaller, and I just need to create a different type of design for my poster. It just means that I might not be able to use this as an entire background. Let's see the actual size of it. It's 8 by 4, and it's only 200 DPI. So I have to bring this up to 300 DPI. And this means that it's brought the size down to 5.3 by 3.2, which is not very big. I'm going to change it to CMYK, and we can take a look and see how big that is in InDesign. I'll do a file, save as, put it in my assessment, and hit OK. This one already showed up at maximum. Ooh, this one looks like we might have the same problem with this one. Let's see what the size is. Again, 8 by 5. Once I bring it up to 300 DPI, it's the same thing, 5.3 by 3.4. So that's, again, another small image. Change it to CMYK. do a file, save as, put it in my assessment folder, and this one's already at 12 as well. And last one, 8 by 6, but only 200 DPI. So once I make it 300 DPI, it's 5.3 by 4. It's a little bit taller than the other ones. Definitely not wide enough for 11. Hit OK. CMYK. And a final save as. All right, so let's start to set up this InDesign document for this week. I see that I need to have a finished size of 11 by 17, but there is a bleed of 0.125, and I need to also make sure that it's CMYK. So let's go over into InDesign. I'm going to do a new document. I want to make sure I'm in print. So you might want to go over to print just to make sure that all of your color settings are going to be correct. And I need 11 by 17, only one page. Don't worry about columns and gutters, but I do have a bleed. So my bleed is 0.125. And as long as this is linked, when you click in the next box, I'm going to put in that 0.125 for all of the sides. And it doesn't tell me what I would need for a margin, but I'm going to err on the side of caution and put at least a ½ inch margin there. And hit create. All right. So this is where some people can tend to get a little bit confused. What is the bleed? How does the bleed work? And why? So when you send something to the printer and it is set up with the bleed, what that means is that when it gets fed through that big sheet of, on that big sheet of paper, either coming off of the digital print press or coming off of the offset press, what is going to happen is it's going to be sent to a cutter. And the cutter is going to go in and slice a little bit inside of this image. So that way the finished piece looks like it printed all the way to the edge. But in order for them to do that, because things shift when they're being put on a cutter, they kind of just move subtly back and forth because no machinery is perfect. So what you want to make sure is that you have enough of an overlap for the cutter to be able to cut and not get that white line right there. So that's why we set things up with a bleed, with that 0.125 of an inch. And the reason for that is that our printers have said, hey, as long as it extends at least to that 0.125, we will ensure that we will cut it correctly without there being that white line. If there is that white line, that error, that's on us, and we'll fix it for free. So again, that's why you want to make sure that you are setting up your file correctly. If your image does not extend to the bleed line and it gets to the cutter and it only extends to the edge of the page and there's that slight shift and the white shows up, that's going to be an error that again will be on you, the designer, because you did not set up your file correctly. So let's just kind of do a quick mock-up of this. I'm going to go from bleed to bleed right here. Let me add my my theme to my swatches and change them to CMYK while I'm thinking about it. Excuse me. So here I have gone from one edge of the bleed to the other edge of the bleed. And if you look right up here in InDesign, I am actually set up in Essentials Classic mode for CC 2019. So I have this, the old bar up at the top. If you're in just Essentials, you might not have the bar up at the top. See how it's not there? I find that bar extremely helpful. So you might want to change your setup to Essentials Classic so you can get that bar. There's so much information up here that's just very helpful to you. And you'll notice that the white box, my reference point, is in the top left-hand corner. So everything's being measured from here over and here down, that top left-hand corner. So my rectangle box that I've placed on the page starts at negative 0.125, which is the beginning of my bleed, at the X coordinate and the Y coordinate, and then the width of my piece is now 11.25 and 17.25. And you may be wondering, but it says that it's an 11 by 17. It does. Let's get out our calculator. 0.125 times 4 is equal to 0.5. Whoops, I needed to do it times 2. Sorry, 0.125 times 2 is 0.25. So right here and right here, plus the original 11, that gives us our 11.25, which we have, 11.25. And then we would do the same thing. 0.125 for the top of the bleed times 2, also for the bottom of the bleed, plus 17 is our 17.25. So that's how we end up with that new width and height. So that's why I was saying, you know, you want to make sure that those images that you pick, if they're going to fit. All right, so next, that's our bleed. This is the area that's going to show up when it is cut. So we'll color it this color. Whoops, right to that edge. So this is our 11 by 17. This is our finished cut piece. So that's what should show up when it comes back from the printer. Everything that is in this area. But, there's always a but, isn't there? Again, things can start to shift when it's on the printer. So what our printers say is they'll guarantee that everything, you know, that there will be a bleed, it will extend to the edge, as long as we have this bleed right here. They are also saying that anything that we put in our safe zone, which is our margin, will not be cut off. So that's why we always want to have a good margin on our piece. So for this one, I'll actually set that up in white so you can really see. Anything important should stay within your margin, because anything that goes outside of your margin runs the risk of getting cut or being too close to the edge when it comes back from the printer. This is your safe zone. So let's label it so you can see. Safe zone. Right there. Then we have finished piece. and bleed. There you go. There you have it. So like I said, you know, you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success right off the bat with your pieces. If this is something that you're going to have a little bit of trouble with, you know, set up a layer and name it, what's a good name for this? Bleed finished safe and hit OK. And then make a new layer on top, and you can kind of turn it off, but you can see then, oh, all right, wait a minute, am I in my safe zone? Am I outside of my safe zone? Have I extended to my bleed? You know, it'll just make it a little bit easier for you to have a visual to go off of. Now, before we even start designing anything, I want to show you how to also set up those presets that I was talking about. So that way, when you go in to make your PDFs, you are sure that you have your marks and bleeds. This is something that you need to have. That is what is considered when we look at our assessment here. That's what's considered to be a press quality PDF, including the crop and bleed marks. We want to have that set up. So what InDesign lets you do is it actually lets you set up and save a preset. So you always have it, which, why not do that? Why not always have what you need right at your fingertips? So I'm going to show you how to set that up. What you would do is go to File, Adobe PDF Presets, and pick the PDF X4. Good option to go with. And I'm just going to put this into my week 2 assessment. And I'm going to name it just Assessment Test. And I'm going to hit save. I haven't even done anything yet, but that's what's going to prompt me to get the dialog box I need. All right. Let's see. Compression, marks and bleeds. I want all printer marks checked. So I just checked this box right here. And I want to use document bleed settings. So you can see it added in my bleed. And even if my bleed changes from document to document, it's always going to populate with whatever the bleed setting is that I have set up for that particular document. All marks, all printer marks, use document bleed settings. Then you're going to save this as a preset. I would name it something that makes sense. Name it all printer marks, and I'm going to name it X4 because this is the X4 one. See? Or you can just name it marks and bleed, something like that, where when you see it, you'll say, oh, all right, that's the one I need, and hit OK. Then hit the export button. So let's look at that assessment test. What it's done is it's added the registration bar, and you'll notice it's inside of your bleed area, which is fine, even though it's running over it, because this is getting cut anyways. This is the part, see these hatch lines? This is where it's getting cut. So we've got our bleed, our finished piece, and our safe zone, which you can see. So what's the difference between this PDF and one that isn't press quality? I'll show you. If I just did an Adobe PDF preset and I just did PDF X4, name this test 2, and then I hit export. My bleed's missing. I don't have any of my crop marks. I send this to the printer. They don't know where they're supposed to be cropping my piece. What if they think that they are moving in 1/4 of an inch here and cropping it and moving down 1/4 of an inch, there is a chance they are now getting really close to my safe zone, and they're going to cut my piece even smaller than it should be because I did not send them the correct file. So again, you can see why it's so important to make sure that you're setting your files up correctly and sending the files correctly. So that's how you can tell that difference. All right, so let's see what we need for requirements. And I'm not going to design a poster for you because I feel like sometimes when you see a poster being designed, you can't unsee the poster being designed, but we kind of went over when we were color correcting those images, you know, which ones would work for a background and which ones will not. So let's take a look at that right now. I'm going to turn off my bleed, finish, and save. And how many different images do I have? I have 3 different images that will work for a background. So I'm going to make 3 different layers. And I'm going to name it background 1. I'll name this one background 2. This one background 3. And then I'm going to make one other one and I'm going to name it not background compatible. So we can see. All right, so let's grab my rectangle frame tool. And again, I'm starting at the edge where my bleed is. If you're not sure if you got it right directly to the edge, you can zoom in, double check where you drew that box, and change it up in your XY coordinates if you've changed it to the Essential Classics. You can do a file place. And this is why it's so important to put your folders in order so you can find exactly what you're looking for. I'm going to grab Sunset 4 first and hit open. And this fits perfectly right into that background. So that's a great one. And I'm going to lock that. Next, I'm going to do the same exact thing on background 2. We'll try the next one. Double check, everything looks good. File place. And I'm going to grab that Sunset 5. This is the one I said where it was going to be a little bit off. See, little bit off. But that's okay. We're going to go up to Object, Fitting. And I want to fill the frame proportionally. And it just brings me up to a little bit over 104%. And honestly, we're not going to lose any definition in the picture at 104%. So I would feel confident using this image as a background image. I think that would be fine. I'm going to lock that layer. Now background 3 one more time. Grab my rectangle frame tool. Double check, everything looks good. File place. Grab my last kayak photo. And again, fills the frame perfectly. Great. I can even bring this one down a little bit if I wanted, but I think it fills it just fine right there. And I'll lock that layer. So those are my 3 options that I have for a background, for a full background. Next, I have my images that are just not background compatible. So the easiest way to see how big they are is to just not even draw a rectangle, but just place them. Just go to File, Place. I'm going to pick the first one, number 1, and I'm just going to click and let go. Look at that size compared to this size. This is 100%. So I can't, even if I went up to let's say 110%. 120%, still not even close. I definitely, I can't use that as a background. Let's see the next one. Again, file place. Grab number 2. Same thing, same width, a little bit smaller even. And then my third one. And even smaller than this one. So you can see where these are not going to work. I'm going to actually move these over and we'll do a demonstration just to kind of drive home that point. I'm going to extend this box and I'm going to go up to Object, Fitting, and I want to fill frame proportionally. And you can see when you start to zoom in, look at how pixelated this has gotten. Look at the pixelation here, which is all those squares, and we've just lost so much definition compared to zooming in on this, or even zooming in on this one, or zooming in on that. You can really see the loss of definition in this image when we've done that. And that's why this isn't going to work. This is now 430%. That is so low res at that point. So again, not going to work. We can do it with this one. Again, just to kind of drag the point home. This one, we can't even really get the people in. And again, zoomed out on the screen, you may say, well, it looks fine to me. But once you get in there and you print it and you really look at how pixelated it is. It's lost all of its definition. That's why it's not going to work. And again, this one is now 500%, way overscaled. Trying to Command Z to get it back at the size it was. Probably would have been quicker to just replace it. There we go. Went back a little too far. And last but not least, oops. This one. Oops, 17.25. There we go. And again, far out doesn't look that bad, but when we zoom in, you can see all that pixelation. So does that mean you can't use any of these pictures? It doesn't mean that you can't use any of these pictures. It just means that you need to rethink your design and you can't have a nice, full bleed background with one of these pictures. And then according to our instructions as well, you can only use up to 2 images. So that means no more than 2 images. All right, next, let's talk a little bit about hierarchy in our design. What needs to stand out the most? What should be second? What should be third? These are the things that you need to think about when you're going to lay out your design. And we have some hints here to tell us what to do. So first we need to make sure that we have our logo. Where are we going? What is the name of this place? Let's make sure that we don't forget to place our logo on the page. Aqua logo. And again, keep important information inside, all text, all logos, inside of this margin. Then I have a headline. So I have a headline. Should my headline be small? This size. No. Headlines should stand out. Let's think, we have 5 seconds to draw somebody in. What is going to draw them in? What's going to make them want to read the rest of the information on our poster? It's gonna be that important information. So your headline should be one of your most important pieces. Also, you need to think about fonts here. Keep it simple. Narrow your fonts down to no more than 2 fonts on the page. And you also want to be aware that your logo has a font. Aqua Excursions is, I want to say it's either Helvetica 96, which is Helvetica Black Italic, or it is Arial Black Italic, one of the two. So I know I have somewhere on my machine, or at least I used to, have Helvetica Black Italic. There it is. Black Oblique. I don't think I have it currently installed on my machine. Oh, maybe I do. There we go. Here it is. Got so many Helveticas here. So maybe you want to start to match some of these fonts. You can see if it matches. Would be a little bit bolder, but it has basically the same feel as Aqua Excursions. Might just be a little bit different. But Helvetica Black, or Helvetica or Arial Black, those would be 2 good options to pair with this logo. So I definitely want my headline to stand out. Might even have it stand out a little bit above my logo. We'll see. Making sure if I'm going to center it inside of my margins. And then I also have some body copy. and a call to action. So when it comes to that hierarchy, my headline should probably be first when it comes to all of my ad copy I'm putting on the page. That's what I want to stand out the most. Then I want my call to action to stand out. Think of that button that I want to press on a website. A call to action can still be on a printed piece as well. It's something that's going to tell you, to go do something. So in this case, it's visit actboardexcursions.com for more information. So how can I get that to stand out? Maybe I run a bar, from bleed to bleed. And I put my call to action in there. Maybe that's something I do to get it to stand out. Because now I'm seeing headline, call to action. Then last but not least, and it's not that it doesn't matter, it's just that you understand that people aren't going to read the body copy if you haven't drawn them in with your headline and your call to action. That's what's going to make them stick around and read your body copy. So we have our body copy. And this can be where maybe your second font comes in. Because right now we're on 2 fonts. We're on 1 font. We're on Helvetica. I still count this as Helvetica. So Helvetica. Maybe for this one, we'll use a serif font, a font with some feet. Do not use any default fonts. Adobe Mini and Pro is a default Adobe font. It's just there. It's like using Times New Roman for everything. Sure, there might be a place for it, but, it might be better to actually pick a font. There's so many great fonts out there. One of the ways that you can pick a font, go to Adobe Type if you're not quite sure what you want. If you go to pitkit.com, which is now fonts.adobe.com, but it'll still bring you there. You can do a search. Click Get Started. Again, make sure you're logged in as yourself. And I wanted a serif font, the font with little feet. And you can even put in some sample text. So maybe put in the first couple of words of the body copy so you can see what it'll look like. It's kind of nice. I want something that's going to stand. Ooh, I like this. Westra, let's try that one. And then you just activate it. Give it a minute so it'll show up. It'll always give you that 10 fonts were activated. And I'll go up into my fonts, and I can actually filter them by the activated fonts that I just added. So that was called Questa. And there's 10 of them in there. I'm going to start off with, oops. Maybe just the medium version. And you want to make sure, that your body copy stands out, but, it's not too small, but at the same time, it's not ginormous. So maybe 20 or 40. I'll give it some breathing room here. And again, you know, just keep working with your piece. It is nice to actually have the different backgrounds, and you can try and see which one. Oops, let's take all of my text off of that background. Make a new background for, or new layer for text. Let it paste in place. There we go. So I can turn off this background. Maybe, you know, I want to try this. And we have all of our swatches. Do you have to use only your swatch colors? No, you don't. You know, definitely if you feel as though white would work for a good headline on top of this, you know, background, I would say go for it. If you don't think that, you know, this is not a good color for text, it's not going to show up well, you know, stick with the black. Black and white are great pairs to your three colors that you have. So don't, you know, don't feel like, and my logo doesn't match my color scheme because I didn't colorize a logo with you. But you can, you know, you can kind of see what may or may not work. And again, just kind of be aware of what's going on. Maybe this isn't the photo for you. Maybe it's this photo. Although, be aware, again, of how you colored your logo. This photo wouldn't work with my logo I made. Look, that orange in excursions is getting lost. The blue looks great on the background, but that's really getting lost there. This is actually, even though this has a blue background, this is a little bit better, and this one's even a little bit better. I would probably try to keep the word excursions in that lighter part of the picture. So again, lots of different options to set this up to make it work for you. So once you have your entire poster designed, you're happy with it, always make sure that you are saving it with the correct file extension. Also, save and save often. Don't want to lose anything. Make sure it's your first and last name. Then what you're going to do is you're going to package your document. Make sure you can click only show problems, so there shouldn't be any missing fonts. There shouldn't be any missing links. You should only see 4 colors here. If you see some spot colors or fifth color or an RGB color, you need to go back through your swatches palette and adjust those and make them CMYK. Check your print settings, that should be fine. Click the package button. And this is where that print setup that you, whoops, I put this in the wrong folder. That's where your print setup that you created is gonna come into play. See where it says include PDF? Scroll down to your marks and bleeds, that X4 one you just made, select that and package it with your document. Close it out. And you can open up that folder, make sure everything's in there. You should have an IDML file. That's a file that if it's sent to the printer and the printer, let's say our printer is never upgraded to CC 2019, they would have to open up the IDML file you sent them because they would not be able to open up your InDesign file. It would be too new of a file for them. So this is what InDesign considers a legacy file. It's an older version that older versions of InDesign can open. Then there's the PDF. So again, double check your PDF. Make sure your marks and bleeds are there, your registration bars. Make sure that this looks exactly how you wanted it to look. That got a little crazy for a second with all my layers showing up. Do you have your call to action? Do you have your body copy? Do you have your headline? Do you have your logo? Double check it against everything. Got my logo, got my image, got my headline, got my body copy, got my call to action. My images are placed at least 300 dpi. Everything's been converted to CMYK. My live area is applied properly. No important text is running outside of that margin. My bleeds are correctly implemented, and I package my document for print. So what you're going to do is you're going to upload the zipped package folder. So again, back yourself up. You got to select that whole folder. If you're on a Mac, either hit Control click or right click, depending if you have a mouse. Go to compress. If you are on a PC, it is, hold on, I will look it up for you. I always forget. It's very similar. You would press and hold or right click the file and go send to a compressed zip folder. I knew that the terminology is very similar. Now, one of the things that you can do in Canvas now is you can upload your zip file and upload your PDF file separately. So grab that separately and upload it as well. And your instructor will be able to leave you comments right on your PDF file that you can reference. You know, sometimes it's a little bit easier to see, you know, a little note like move this a little bit to the right. So if you like getting comments like that, I would always upload both your zipped file and your PDF together with for your assignments and your assessments. So again, make sure that you're going over the rubric before you submit things, and you should be good to go for this week. All right, so I can't wait to see you guys next week. We're going to go over, we're going to really get into trifolds, which is one of my favorite things to design. I've done so many of them, so I definitely look forward to doing that with you. And good luck and have fun with your assignments this week, and have a great week, everyone.